I want to share something that's super frustrating being in the rental industry and the real estate industry, and that's rental scams. Rental scams is when people post fraudulent listings in order to collect a victim's identity or personal information or their money and use it for their own personal gain and leave the person who falls victim to these rental scams at a loss for funds with nothing to do and potentially making their personal information out there for someone else to use again in a scam. My name is Casey Miller. I work for Rentec Direct property management software. I've also been a landlord and a property investor, and I've worked in the industry for over a decade, sharing information about landlords, property management, and tips for being a renter. And today I want to talk about rental scams. Now, as a property manager or a landlord or a real estate investor, I think it's important to understand what kind of scams are out there and how vulnerable potential tenants are to falling victim to these scams. When it comes to housing, people can get really excited about finding a new place to live. And ultimately, finding a good deal on a property and finding a property that is affordable or even seems to be below market rent can make someone super excited to jump at an opportunity. So rental scams most often happen when a person uses a rental listing site, think like Zillow, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, apartments.com, and posts a fraudulent rental listing in order to collect deposit from someone with no intention of renting the property, or collect someone's personal information to then use for future scams or to steal more money or steal someone's identity. And it's so unfortunate that rental applicants can fall victim to these scams because they are so excited about seeing a good deal. I personally know a couple people who have come really close to falling victim to these scams because they're searching for an apartment, maybe their budget is limited, or they just want to find a good deal. And they see a rental listing that is maybe $200 below market rent. Maybe it's $400 below market rent. And you think, oh my God, this is going to be a great property. I need to jump at this deal. So let me break down usually how these scams happen and why it makes sense that someone can fall victim to it. So typically what happens is a person who is going to perform the scam sees a legitimate rental listing on a rental listing site. And they steal the photos, they steal the property information for that listing and create a new fraudulent listing with the same details, but they'll make the rental price cheaper. So in my town, I've seen it for a legitimate listing being $1,400 for a 2-bedroom property. And then someone can steal that information and list it for $800. So someone who's looking for a 2-bedroom property is like, oh my gosh, $800. I'm going to apply and try to contact this person. So the victim will respond to the $800 rental listing and say, hey, can you give me more details about it? And the person responding sounds legitimate. They sound like they are truly a landlord with information and they want to give the victim an opportunity to rent the property. So they'll say, yeah, it's $800, deposit is only $500, which again, that should be a red flag because deposits are usually at least equal to 1 month's rent. They're never going to be less than 1 month's rent. Sometimes they're even 2 times 1 month's rent. So a deposit that is also a lot less should ring a little alarm bell for some of these rental applicants. But again, it's that need, that urgency of like, oh my gosh, I need to take advantage of this deal. Totally normal human nature. And so the scammer will say, deposit's $500, we'll run a background check. If you get approved, then you can use that background check fee to go towards your first month's rent. And so they just make it really exciting and really interesting. They'll even say, hey, do you want to come by and see the property later today? And then what can happen is that victim, that rental applicant, has plans to go see this property and they're on their way to the appointment, say it's at 2 p.m. or something, they're on the way, and then they get a message from the landlord who says, oh, shoot, something just came up. Why don't you go ahead and drive by that property and let me know what you think? And so the victim rental applicant can drive by that property and respond to the landlord and say like, yeah, it looks great. I'm super excited about this opportunity. And the landlord says, well, I have a lot of interest right now. So why don't you go ahead and send a holding deposit, like $200 or something, and then to hold it because we have a lot of interest right now, and send me that $200, and then you can fill out a rental application. We can take the next steps towards renting this property. And so the rental applicant is so excited about having this deal that then they send the $200 and that's it. Get ghosted, especially if it's, a money order or a Zelle payment or a wire transfer, like that kind of stuff. Scammers can set up fake accounts to collect this money, and maybe it's only $200, but they can do that same scam 10 times in a day before their rental listing gets flagged, and then they can just create another one. So I want to share this information so landlords and property managers understand the vulnerabilities that their potential tenants have when searching for a rental property. They can be so excited or desperate to get a good deal, or the need to move might be really high because they want to get out of their current housing situation, that they are more willing to ignore red flags and just move forward. I talked to someone who was almost victim of a scam like this, and they were so excited about the price that was so much more affordable than some of the other market rent properties that were listed on these sites. And they're like, yeah, I thought it sounded a little weird, but they agreed to meet me. Like, they wouldn't agree to meet me if it wasn't legitimate. But I kept thinking, like, this does not feel real. So one of the other things that happened in this particular situation is that the landlord said, we'll run a background check. And so to do the background check, just go to this website and take a screenshot of your credit score and send it to me. And the credit check website was not a legitimate site that I had ever heard of. And like I said, I've been in this industry for a long time. So it's like, I've never heard of that one. Like, they're not even telling you to go to like freecreditreport.com or one of the credit bureaus to get your credit score. They're sending you to this random place. And I can't imagine a single landlord or property manager who would legitimately collect a screenshot of a credit score as a tenant screening process, because that stuff could be so like, I could just go take a screenshot of something right now on my computer. I wouldn't even have to know how to edit it or anything. So that was another red flag. And I really encourage this person, like, maybe you should move on. I know it's exciting because the price is enticing, but it's just not something that you should spend any more time doing this. So something else that they might do is they might be trying to collect funds. They also might send you to or collect a fake rental application with all of your personal information. Think about, you would have your birthday, your social security number on there, your address, previous addresses, all of that personal information going to a scammer. They can use that information to set up other fraudulent accounts to continue their scam scheme, essentially, and make other people victim. So what can you do if you see a scam, or maybe one of your rental listings is being used as a fraudulent listing? Always report one that you see that could be fraudulent. If you know anyone who's been a victim of a rental scam, ask them to talk to their local authorities, ask them to talk to the FBI, because these are crimes that have the potential to impact lots and lots of people. So as housing providers and working in this industry, I think the best thing that we can do is to share this information and let people know what to look for in terms of red flags, prices that are too good to be true, sketchy background check situations, or a rental application process, and then being given the runaround of meeting in person. So those are all things to kind of look out for. And the urgency, giving you that idea of there's lots of people in line, so just send me some money right now and then we'll take care of the other stuff later. Those are all kind of red flags that rental applicants should be aware of to make good judgment on providing their information to a legitimate housing provider. And we, as housing providers, should be aware of what's happening to our clients, to our potential tenants, so we understand the vulnerabilities that they face and what we can do in order to protect them. So my name is Casey Miller. I work for Rentec Direct Property Management Software. System security, taking care of our industry, and really promoting a positive landlord-tenant relationships are something that I'm very passionate about. You can find tips like this and lots more industry news on the Rentec Direct blog. Always come and visit me there, and make sure to follow and like and subscribe to our channel.